two, 1, 2, 3.
Hello and welcome to Ithaca DSA Presents. I'm Teresa Alt. Today, I present highlights from the program of the 39th Annual Labor Day Picnic. MCs were Pete Meyers and Justine Modica.
Hey everybody, my name is Pete Meyers. I'm one of the founders in 2003 of the Tompkins County Workers Center and have been the coordinator ever since then. Just to tell you a little bit about what the Workers Center is up to these days. Many of you will know that the Tompkins County Workers Center has one of the only workers' rights hotlines in the country, which I actually find to be quite bizarre. We get calls every day, so encourage people if they feel treated unfairly in the workplace to contact our organization. Two of the main campaigns that we're involved with right now are, one is called Just Cause Termination. Let's say this gentleman over here is working in a workplace and feels like he's being treated unfairly. Basically, I can just say you're fired for no reason at all, and unless it's a form of discrimination can be proved, he's not going to have a case. So just cause termination would mean that an employer would have to have just cause to actually terminate you, which actually exists in pretty much all union contracts. But so 90% of the population of this country is not in a union, and they don't have those protections. We're working to make that legislation happen on the City of Ithaca level right now. So stay tuned for that. Many of you who know our campaign for increased minimum wage has been going on for 10 years now, but finally we have some traction. In the county level right now, Ian Greer with the ILR CoLab is positioned to get a request for proposal for $50,000 that will study that living wage, both taking input from workers as well as employers. So stay tuned for that. That should start happening in the next couple months. We're also working to actually make this happen in the city of Ithaca as well, to increase the $15.50 is obviously a ridiculous minimum wage for upstate New York. Who can live on $15.50?
So this award honors Chico Mendes, who is a Brazilian rubber worker who built a rubber workers union and fought to save the Amazonian rainforest, linking the struggle for workers' rights with the struggle for environmental preservation and environmental justice. So this year's Chico Mendes Award goes to a union for their successful union election last year and for successfully bargaining for a contract this year with industry-wide industry first just cause termination for all workers within that unit. And they've also recently elected 115 stewards and making them a new and established local that can fight the boss, has the power to do so. And so let us please give our warm applause to the Cornell Graduate Students United, CGSU. Come on up.
Our next award is called the Dolores Huerta Award. It's going to the New York workers of the United Farm Workers. It's my pleasure to introduce Gabriela Spunz, the New York United Farm Workers Organizing Director, plus several workers joining her with a farm upstate. Gabriela and friends, please.
Happy Labor Day, everyone. My name's Gabriela. I work for the United Farm Workers. I'm here with some workers from a farm about an hour north of here, Waffler Farms. It's an apple orchard and nursery. The UFW's been organizing in New York for about 3 years since the state law passed in 2020 that protects farm worker organizing. And this year has been like a uniquely challenging year for us. We started off the year with our first contract being signed in New York State. We represent 120 farm workers in a farm called Cahoon Farms. So it's a really monumental change in how we've been organizing, and it gives us the ability to advocate for these workers who have been struggling for years for their union contract. And then we kind of took a dip after that. There was a raid at one of the farms that we were organizing with called Lynette and Son Farms, where about 14 workers were picked up by ICE on their way to work in the morning. and, were separated from their families, had to go through the awful, awful detention system that ICE has been subjecting so many of our neighbors and colleagues and family members. So these are all things that we've been contending with. We represent workers at 8 different farms across New York State. As I mentioned earlier, Cahoon Farms is the first farm in New York that we've won a collective bargaining agreement, and we represent workers at 4 other farms that had contracts awarded to them, but the owners have been refusing to honor the terms of those contracts. So these guys are at one of those farms where we won hourly wages increases, we won paid time off, we won all these benefits that they don't receive otherwise. They should be getting paid today for their day off, but instead the owner of that farm has refused to honor the terms of the contract, so we've been kind of forced to go back to the legal drawing board and figuring out ways to put pressure on the company to honor the contract. So I'm going to let them share a few words about what they've experienced on the farm. And thank you all for being here and for honoring the workers that make the world go round and make everything possible.
Happy Labor Day, everybody. Yes, we are very delighted to be here. Yes, so my name is Owen. I'm an H2A worker from Jamaica. I am working at Waffler Farm in Walcott. So before the UFW Foundation, before Gabriela found us at Waffler's farm, it was very bad there. It was terrible. We had to deal with situations that were not nice. But since Gabriela came there from the UFW Foundations, things have changed a lot. We have changed so much. They used to yell at us and treat us bad, but now it is so much different, even though we haven't gotten our contract signed as yet. But there is a lot of difference now than then. It was very bad, a bad situation back then. But now we are enjoying paid for our introduction. We never used to get paid for that. We're getting paid for that now. And so forth. There's a lot of changes, which we are so glad for the UFW Foundations. They have helped us a lot. Today, we are much more better off than we were back then, and we are much more happier. And we just want to give thanks for that also.
Our next award is the Karen Lewis Award. So a little background on this award. It is named in honor of the late Karen Lewis, who helped to transform the Chicago Teachers Union into a powerful democratic union that popularized the idea of bargaining for the common good. Lewis led over 25,000 Chicago teachers in the historic 2012 citywide strike that fought against cutbacks, merit pay, and privatization, and fought to get ICE out of schools and nurses into every school. So in honor of Karen Lewis, the Karen Lewis Award is presented to the Ithaca Teachers Association in recognition for their continued ongoing struggle against austerity and in support of sufficient staffing, services, and funds to meet the needs of all students and adults. Like Karen Lewis and the Chicago Teachers Union Core Caucus, Ithaca Teachers Association activists embody the belief that the fight for the youth is the fight for ourselves.
Hi, I'm Catherine Cernera. I am the president of the Ithaca Teachers Association. So I really spent some time thinking about this today, and I absolutely love this event so much. It is one of the few places where I really feel like I am at home with my union family, where I am at home in a place where workers are coming together to celebrate one another, and that is really what this is all about. We would like to thank so many people who have been with us in our struggle this year. I would like to thank the Tompkins County Workers Center for hosting this amazing event. I want to thank all of the people who brought amazing food. The fact that I didn't have to think about whether or not I would eat today is wonderful. We would like to thank our fellow community groups. It is so powerful to come together and connect because so many of our struggles overlap with one another, and the ways that we can help one another out every day is really, really powerful. So this past year, we in the Ithaca Teachers Association had a huge, huge fight. We have been negotiating with the Ithaca City School District in public televised using an open bargaining model. When we've been open bargaining with a school leader who is more concerned with his image than with our staff and students. I have been dubbed Ithaca's favorite reality TV star, and there are people who have been tuning in on Thursday nights with like popcorn and wine just to figure out and watch what I'm going to say to Dr. Brown. And knowing that I have those labor friends, our worker friends, watching and cheering us on is what makes this weird, surreal experience so worth it. I was constantly reminded this past year of all of the people who have our backs. Knowing that our union siblings in the ICSD, the ESP, the EA, the ISA, who are showing up to our rallies, who showed up to fill our rooms. I want to recognize our siblings at CGSU who made the time to show up for us while they were fighting to just start a union. Our siblings at UAW and TCAT who show up for us and fight loudly and proudly and show us how to do it. For our local labor candidates and our local labor electeds, I know I saw our mayor over here. I've seen Iris Packman today. I've seen Anna Kellis today. Jorge and Hannah, who were fighting for to get them elected. All of these great pro-labor candidates. And everybody who is really just fighting for us. For our comrades in the Ithaca DSA, who are there whether we're making Cornell pay, showing up for just cause, fighting to school our school board, the DSA is there. They are good friends to have. Thank you, DSA. I also just want to recognize that this award is really for our members, for our team that has been fighting tirelessly against our school district to get the supportive and sustaining schools that our students need. This is really all of our awards, and we really appreciate everybody who keeps showing up to help remind our school district that teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions. Thank you.
There's two awardees that could not come today, it turned out. They are the Joe Hill Award. It's named after Joseph Hillstrom, better known as Joe Hill, labor activist with International Workers of the World, who wrote hundreds of songs celebrating the heroism of labor and the power of collective action, traveled across the American West in the early 20th century, supporting numerous labor struggles. This award this year is given to the Borg Warner union workers affiliated with the Teamsters for their commitment to union solidarity and the courageous decision to strike at Borg Warner this past fall after last year's Labor Day picnic. Borg Warner, if you don't know, manufactures propulsion systems for the global transportation engines. As point of reference, within the next few years, Borg Warner will be locating south of the border in order to save a lot of money. So, boo on Borg Warner, but yay on the workers. Another award where we did not have the person show up to receive is the A. Philip Randolph Award, and that's going to the Cayuga Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, SEIU 1199. It's named in the honor of Asa Philip Randolph, who was in the 1920s organized and led the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, a powerful union of black and Filipino workers that helped to democratize and strengthen the American labor movement. Randolph also used collective action and threatened a march of 50,000 people, which brought management to the table. The award this year goes to Cayuga Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. 1199, as point of reference, has a great deal of workers there that make $15.50 an hour. In a union shop, that seems very unacceptable, and the union is starting to stand up right now. The Mother Jones Award, it was named in honor of Mary Harris Mother Jones, who was a fearless organizer in some of the most important labor struggles of the late 19th century, from the fight for the 8-hour workday to campaigns against child labor. She was once introduced to a crowd as a humanitarian, and she jumped up out of her seat and said, "Get it straight, I'm not a humanitarian, I'm a freaking hellraiser." This year, it's our pride and privilege to present the Mother Jones Award to the GreenStar union workers affiliated with Workers United for their successful union election, their commitment to union solidarity, and for the successful fight for a fair contract that culminated successfully within the past couple of months. It's my pleasure to introduce Jessica Marks and my anarchist brother, David Myers.
Thank you, Tompkins County Workers Center, for this award. I guess we're Hellraisers. So it was only a year ago that the conversations between Jessica and I were the things that started our unionizing process at GreenStar. I thought GreenStar should have been unionized 20 years ago. It helps if your brother's the director of the Workers Center. I really want to just say that I want to introduce Jessica because I was more of a fluffer in this process. I wasn't a salt. I was not sent there, and there were so many things going wrong that we came together, and it started with a conversation with Jessica and I, and Jessica has been the steadfast and steady person through this whole process. So thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, David. You were really important to the process. Everybody was important. It was a team effort. We worked cooperatively to, thank you. I'm very shy. We worked cooperatively to unionize our co-op, and we really appreciate this award. And good luck to everyone else who's still out there bargaining and organizing.
Our next award will require Shannon Gleason to come to the mic to give the Friend of Labor Award.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being out here on this beautiful day. My name is Shannon Gleason. I wear a few different hats here in Ithaca, but today the hat I'm wearing is as someone who's very proud to call Mary Jo Dudley my friend and colleague. When I arrived at Cornell and here in Ithaca 11 years ago, after living in Northern California for nearly 2 decades, I relied on several mentors to help me understand the landscape of worker rights here in upstate New York. After doing this work in progressive places like the San Francisco Bay Area, I quickly learned that although Ithaca proper is a place of fierce labor solidarity, I was not in Kansas anymore. Mary Jo Dudley was one of the colleagues who took the time and patience to teach me, and I had several lessons to learn. One, I had to learn that federal and even state law means very little when you get outside the bounds of the town we live in. Employers operate with impunity. Relationships and experience matter, and it takes a village to do the work of standing alongside workers. Mary Jo is one of the fiercest and most dedicated advocates for farm worker communities, and it is perhaps with that reality the greatest irony that the premier land-grant institution, arguably in the country, whose precise mission is public service, seems to believe otherwise. Her departure as my colleague is a profound loss, not only to the university, but to this entire community. But we remain allies and colleagues, and it is my greatest honor to continue to learn from Mary Jo and to present the Friend of Labor Award to her. So in this spirit, I would like to call Mary Jo up here to remind her that we value the work you do and are honored to continue to work and organize along with you.
It's an honor to receive this award, but as any award, and as Shannon well knows, this kind of recognition depends on the collaboration of many. And I see many of you in the crowd, so please just raise your hand that you have participated and stood in solidarity with farm workers over the last 2 decades I've been running the farm worker program. Raise them high, because all of this takes place in community with community. And as Shannon said, at this time when farm workers, primarily unauthorized workers, are at highest risk, that Cornell has decided to take a different direction. There's a candidate for your next scout of labor. But because we are a strong community and because we support those workers that brought this food to the picnic, whose hands produced this food that we're eating today and every day, we will move forward. And I'm taking this occasion to say that that together with friends and colleagues, we have submitted a proposal to begin Migrant Advocacy and Support Project. And I hope that I will see many of you as volunteers in that effort. This is a time that we must act. We can't be complacent in light of the deterioration of our democratic institutions and in our legal safeguards and the vicious attacks against immigrant workers. So raise your voices, write letters, write op-eds, protest, and use all the tools in your toolkit to say no. No to this deterioration of democracy, no to the targeting of immigrant workers upon whom our society relies, our economy relies, our food relies, that this is a time to say no and to convert our thoughts into actions.
This next award, the Lifetime Achievement Award, is an award that I will actually be giving. I moved here in January of 2000, and not long after that, I met somebody who, when we had started first started talking about the Worker Center, we had a call to us from somebody from Collegetown Pizzeria in Collegetown, where workers were basically sleeping in the basement of the restaurant and not being paid what they should be paid. So I was recommended to call somebody named Carlos Gutierrez, who had been an advocate in the community for many years before I had gotten here. And Carlos was on it, and we all jointly met, a group of us met with management at Collegetown Pizzeria, and things started to change. We also contacted the New York State Attorney General as well, and that helped to change along. So the winner of this Lifetime Achievement Award is Carlos Gutierrez. And I am astounded as well, because Carlos, we would take long drives on trips to DC for work, or Philadelphia. And Carlos told me about his experiences fighting for revolution in Chile during the 70s, and put in prison for freaking 3 years. Many of his comrades were killed, and Carlos magically got to, I believe, I don't know all the details, but Texas, and eventually to Ithaca, where he's been here longer than I've been alive. That's not true. Carlos?
Good afternoon. Pete already summarized a little bit about my prior experience before I came to the United States. So this thing about immigration, migration is personal, because I never planned to migrate and never planned to come to the United States. It was just an incident. It doesn't mean that I didn't want to visit or come this way, but it happened that after the United States helped to overthrow the government, a democratically Marxist government in Chile, I ended here. And many of us ended in the United States. But it's been a pleasure to be here. You know why? Because the struggle is not particularly to Chile or Mexico. It's here too. And we need to understand that. That's what many years ago in the labor movement was called internationalism. We need to understand what's going on the other side of the border to understand what's going on here, and vice versa. And I can tell you, this is a constructive that I want to share with you, because I want to be frank with you, you are the choir, and I'm talking to the choir. We've been complacent, and just 10 miles away from here, we have silent, invisible workforce, and we have been feeding from them, and enjoying our food and so on and so on, and just look around. Where are they? They are not here, because things have gotten worse and worse. But I want to tell you this, just to simplify things. Immigration, migration, of course, immigration first, is a tool. It's a tool to divide people. Migration is caused by the policies of northern countries, Northern Europe, the United States, Canada, and so on, because all the wellness comes this way. We know that. And so in the meantime, we create the poverty and the other contradictions on the other side of the border and south of the border. Next time, I will suggest bring some people with you. You have 365 days to get to know, go to the farm, organize bring those people in, because the more they are in our community, the more safe they are, and the less the ICE and the government is going to have, the will or the force to do what they're doing today. And by the way, what they're doing today is just a move, because it has stirred you up very much, right? And what are we going to do? We're going to keep doing the same thing as before? Relationship is the first step that needs to happen. Next year, when we commemorate our labor force, our heroes, and so on, we need to have them here. And it's not going to happen by inviting them and you need to build up relationships. We need to open the doors to make them part of our community, not an invisible community up there 10 miles and basically being exploited. Perhaps their money is better than in Mexico, Guatemala, and other places, but they're still being exploited. And thank you very much for the recognition. And of course, this is not, it doesn't happen without your presence. And I know many of you have been involved in this, supporting the Workers' Center, supporting the Mid-State COSH, and many other organizations that exist upstate New York, like the Workers' Center of Central New York, and so on. Be involved, bring more people in, and that's my dream. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
So now we're going to announce the Goat of Labor Award, and the story behind this award is that it is the kind of opposite of the Friend of Labor Award. This is for an employer that has really been egregious in either union busting or making zero effort to come to the table and meet the needs of workers. And this year's Goat of Labor Award goes to the Ithaca City School District. I think this one is an especially important one right now because this is something where we can continue to have impact as a community on ICSD. ICSD has refused to introduce the step and lane structure, which is the gold standard in promotion for teachers. Teachers here in Ithaca are paid much less than in surrounding communities. Boo. And they have sent one single negotiator to bargaining sessions and have just sort of repeatedly not taken the demands of teachers here seriously. And these are really essential to our community and the education of kids here. So please put pressure on ICSD. So ICSD is the Goat of Labor this year.
You have been hearing highlights from the program of the 2025 Labor Day Picnic. This has been Ithaca DSA Presents. I'm Teresa Alt. Thanks for watching.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.